And just a real quick background, I own a company called Wild Hive. We are a marketing and strategic communications firm based in Texas. Yep, we're a little bit down in another region of the country, but we have been working with the raspberry industry, the processed raspberry industry now for about almost 6 years. And so I've gotten to spend a lot of time up here in Linden with all of you. And so as y'all know, the National Processed Raspberry Council closed down this past year. And fortunately, the Washington Red Raspberry Commission was in a position to pick up that ball. And our focus over the past 8 months has been to start ushering through that transition of transitioning the marketing work that was going on with the National Council to a Washington-focused program. And that's what we're going to talk to you about today. We've been implementing some initial strategies over the past 8 months, and we're getting ready to kick off our first full year of a marketing program that is exclusively focused on Washington raspberries. As you may remember, the National Processed Raspberry Council's program represented both domestically produced raspberries as well as imports. We're now exclusively focused on what y'all are growing and bringing to the marketplace. Now, in terms of the goal for our marketing program, we are focused on increasing awareness, value perception relative to our competition, and demand for Washington red raspberries among key decision makers. And just specifically what that looks like, this is the strategic framework for our marketing program. And this is really the skeleton that we hang all of the activities that we are doing throughout the year across these different bucket areas, developing marketing tools and resources, educating purchasing decision makers, specifically those focused on food manufacturing, food service, retailers, and then also consumers. So the end buyers, end users of the fruit that you're growing, developing strategic partnerships that will help us move our initiatives along more efficiently and effectively, and then also research and development. We also put a little bucket for that within marketing, and this is where we think about the nutrition and health studies that the National Processed Raspberry Council funded, and then the Washington Commission has now inherited. And then also, future research and development opportunities in terms of product formats that might be needed for industry to help them be able to more effectively utilize the products that you produce. So I'm going to hand it over to Megan now to talk us through some of what we're doing.
Awesome. Thanks, Allison. Thank you, guys. It's so wonderful to be here with you. So as Allison mentioned, over the last several months, we've been working with you guys on that transition from NPRC to a Washington-specific message. And one of the major tasks there has been branding. And we have just recently transitioned the Washington Red Raspberry logo to this new logo that you see. And what has really resonated from a messaging standpoint that we found is you guys are growing 90% of the domestic frozen raspberries and that message to consumers is huge. So you guys really own America's raspberries. And you'll see that tagline incorporated into the logo, and it's a key piece of our messaging moving forward. So we have been working to transition all the materials that NPRC developed, so all the print collateral, rebranding that and bringing in the Washington message. And we'll talk in a minute about how that looks as we head into 2020 and what's coming there. We've also, of course, been continuing the health research, just following up with the researchers to make sure that everything's moving along, and we're anticipating studies to be published this year. So a lot of good promotional opportunities there. Another key piece of our work, of course, is dealing with issues. Issues happen, and having a good team and messaging platform in place is an important part of that. Over the last several months, we did work with you guys on messaging related to a recall, and then we're constantly monitoring media coverage and USDA announcements to make sure that we are on top of anything that might be going on that's a concern to the industry and helping you guys address it. You know, at the end of the day, when it comes to issues, our goal is to move past them as quickly as possible. We also supported Henry and the team around the issues tour that was conducted in July for key legislators, which was a fantastic opportunity. And I'm going to let Mary talk a little bit about our trade work.
Okay, thank you.
Oh. Yes. Absolutely. That's actually a piece we'll get to when we're talking in our 2020 plan about collaborating with other locations. So absolutely, that's an important piece. Thank you for raising it. Yeah.
As Allison said, I'm the trade marketing person on the team. And so I want to talk a minute about the Harvest Tour. I think you've probably been aware that we've done it for about 5 years now. This is the first year we could really focus on Washington. So when we were reaching out, we reached out to some strong users in the Washington area. So Kathy Casey and Macrina Bakery and Checker Cherries, as well as school nutrition is been something that the board has challenged us to raise awareness with for raspberries. So we had several school nutrition people, also very much focused on Whatcom County, because why not? They should be taking care of their own people in their own backyard. And also the trade media. So again, what Megan said, what we find is that people are very fascinated with the fact that so many of the frozen raspberries are grown right here. And it really reaches out to them. And then to go through and hear the whole story from growing to processing and all the family farms, they really enjoy that whole message, and it helps connect them to the product.
Yeah, and just another comment on that real quick. You know, we've conducted these harvest tours now for, I think this was our 5th one this year. And you'll see that again coming up in next summer. We're going to be doing another harvest tour for these ingredient decision makers. And the reason that we want to keep doing these is because they work. This is one of the most effective lead generators for the work that we do. The relationships that we're able to develop with key decision makers and influencers by bringing them up here and showing them firsthand what you're doing and giving them an opportunity to connect with y'all individually, it has a profound effect on their loyalty and attachment to what you're doing. And ultimately, that's what, you know, marketing is it involves a lot, and the emotional component, and showing them what y'all are up here doing, the high quality products that you're producing, the commitment to food safety, to values, really resonates with the ingredient decision makers that we're targeting.
And riding the harvesters.
And riding the harvesters. That never hurts. Okay, carry on, Mary.
Okay, and so to that point, one of the things is like Kathy Casey went back, and then Rob, she used your wine, your raspberry wine, and put that on her menu as a menu item immediately after the tour. So that's what Allison was saying, how quickly they connect to the product. So our biggest focus this year has been on school food service. That was what the board asked that we focus on. And so we've been working on awareness and demand. And so we have attended many of the school nutrition programs, whether it's Washington State and the national. We have found that there are 2, I guess, potential routes for us to go to get the raspberry formats into schools. And one of them is the USDA direct buy, and that's come from us going to these meetings and connecting. And so OSPI, which is the school food service people in the state of Washington, are working with us on that with USDA. And the other is there's a pilot project for unprocessed fruits and vegetables, and that was the Washington Department of Agriculture that's working on that with us. So we will have a roadmap laid out for you as to what you will need to do, but it definitely will take a lot of hard work on your part to get it done.
Yeah, and you know, and this is one of the areas of the work that we're involved with on the school nutrition front, where I think it would be great for y'all to come over to our table and talk to us about further today, because this whole system is very complex. and multifaceted. And we would love to talk with you more about what is involved and the level of industry engagement that we are going to need in order to make this a successful opportunity for the industry. This is, you know, getting Washington raspberries into school food service is not something that we can just do for you. We have got to have y'all working hand in hand with us to demonstrate that there is a industry need for this and that there is demand for this within the marketplace, and that y'all collectively as an industry are committed to it and want this. So you'll be hearing more about that from us over the coming months, but we'd love to talk with you more about it more specifically if you're around today.
One of the other areas that we focused on is with IFIC, which is where all the trade food editors go. They actually have a meeting, and we do a lot of pitching of raspberry stories to them. We actually sponsored one of the luncheon beverages this year with the berry red cocktail. That's that cocktail recipe. We have some of the recipe cards out front if you'd like to see. It was made with puree, and we've had some good success. If you want to switch it. We had a very nice article in Cafe, which is the magazine for culinary professionals, and on using the product for baking. And then School Nutrition magazine has us as their editorial lead, the frozen raspberries, in February, and there's going to be a big piece on frozen raspberries.
So looking ahead, we're going to go a little fast. Henry just gave us the 5-minute warning. So really, this next year ahead of us is about building on the foundation we've established over the last several months and going above and beyond. So first, enhancing marketing tools and resources. This is foundational. We obviously have transitioned the majority of the materials from MPRC to a Washington-specific message. Now we need to build out more materials and content for you guys that is telling the Washington story. We are going to create this year for y'all an industry toolkit that has a variety of resources you can use in your own marketing efforts, and that we will also be using with media and influencers in our own efforts on your behalf. And another really exciting thing we're going to do this year on the consumer side is we are planning to do for the first time, we didn't do this with NPRC, but we'll do a harvest tour for consumer media. So bringing them out here, this is a great way to, as Mary said before, getting people here, showing them what y'all are doing. It is so incredibly impactful, and for consumer media to go and tell your story, that's going to be a big piece of what we do this year, as well as a regular media outreach. So we'll be throughout every month pitching media, whether it's on nutrition, whether it's seasonal, whether it's just farmer stories, what you guys are doing, how you got here, and the impact that you're having. Benefits of frozen raspberries, and really trying to drive home that Washington message, and that you guys are growing 90% of the frozen raspberry product here. Oh, keep going. Okay, sorry.
I'm just gonna have you run through it.
So then on the trade side, obviously very important key decision makers. We're going to be continuing event participation at a variety of conferences. And then another key piece this year, which is really exciting, is we're looking at a partnership with the Bread Bakers Guild and the Bread Lab here at in Washington to engage the baking community in a bigger way. This is a huge opportunity for raspberries that really has, we know y'all have interest in it, and we know the baking community does too. Well, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, you know, as we have the marketing program planned out, the bulk of our focus area is on food service and food manufacturing, because that is where the bulk of the volume goes. And so our primary focus from a marketing standpoint is on building those opportunities, specifically with the trade. Consumer marketing is part of what we do, but the bulk of our budget is focused on this right here, because this is where really the rubber meets the road.
Yes, and again, we'll do another harvest tour, as Mary mentioned. That's a huge driver for these influencers. Developing strategic partnerships goes without saying. I think you brought up partners in BC. Absolutely, we want to continue to support other commodity boards and make sure that we're collaborating in a really smart way. And then I think you jumped me ahead. And then also supporting on the policymaker side, You know, we have a team member in DC who will be helping us this year facilitate some relationships as you guys move forward your legislative agendas, and helping to establish some key collaboration there. I think, did I hit all that?
Yeah, I think you hit it all. And I'll just close
Really
things
fast?
up real quick and just say we are really excited about the year ahead. It's not lost on us that these are very challenging times for your industry. We are very sensitive to that. And we want to hear more about that today. You know, while we're here, we want to talk with you about the challenges that you're facing and where you can see marketing playing an effective role in helping the industry overcome those challenges. But I will say, certainly from our standpoint, we think that there are great opportunities ahead for this industry. You have a phenomenal story to tell. And we have laid a really great foundation for that story over the past 8 months. And we are just so stoked about kicking off the first full year of telling the story of Washington raspberries. And we love the fact that we can really kind of claim that space of being America's raspberries.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Either one. Make sure it's on. Did you guys get all that? So thanks for coming this morning, everybody. It's good to see a nice gathering. I think we might be a little ahead of last year's attendance at this meeting, so that's exciting. My role on the board is a number of different things, but one of them is strategic planning and advising in all other conversations. And as to echo what Randy said, that room is there isn't a lot of attendance in there, guys. So we would appreciate filling that room up when we have meetings. So please attend. So, you know, I think Allison mentioned we've got some marketing issues. The last thing that you guys want me to talk about and think that I've got all the answers for that, you know, get into some big discussion about what we're doing. But we have, I think, consistently this transition from the NRPC to the state. That's a strategic move. Keeping Allison and her team working on our marketing and things that we can do to move fruit. That's a huge deal, to stay consistent on that and to not give up on it. It'd be easy to think that in 3 to 5 years we can have all of our problems fixed, but we just need to stay consistent. And the school lunch target that we're talking to them about is a big deal. So I don't want to reiterate everything that Allison said. Randy talked about the plant breeding program and our focus on institutional sales to government programs. Is there another slide, or is this it? But I guess one thing that I wanted to touch on was the fact that we got a little active this year in some opportunities to move fruit with private and public entities. We have partnered kind of the voice outside of normal strategy, but to fund some Costco demos to move some IQF raspberries, partnered with ORBC, private organizations as well, to try to push fruit into that organization. As you all know, how many Costco members are in this room? I think it's a pretty good number. Costco demos are a big deal. And even though it's one facet of what we do, it helps move fruit consistently. So the Costco business was around flat, and those demos have helped grow that business. So we're going to continue to stay on that strategy and maybe do Kirkland Signature, the catalog or the book that comes out, Costco Connection, to do an ad in there that tells some stories about growers and things. So we're looking forward to pushing that. So for those of you who've been in this industry a long time, and most of you all have, you know that we have had to protect our industry more than once in the past. First time was in the early 80s. Next was in the 90s. And we're discussing that heavily now and have invested some money in that direction. One commonality with those things is that we've used the same law firm in Washington, D.C., who they're experts in this. They do it every day. A few of us on the board have been to their office. You can actually see the White House from their office. They're that close. So they're there every day dealing with these things. So we have, the board has started that process at looking at what we can do to prevent product coming in from Mexico and being dumped into our markets. So we have been working with another Steve at King and Spalding in DC, Steve Ovra, and he has, I've talked to him, we've all talked to him as a group. I spoke to him last night and we talked a little bit about this. So he is actually online and is going to talk to us a little bit about this process that we're looking at going through. And I think we've talked on the board a little bit before I hand it over. We've been asked what's the #1 marketing thing that we can do with our money besides what Allison is doing for us. It's probably this, is protecting what we have. So looks like Steve is there, ready to roll. I'm going to hand it over. Can you switch it over, Chris? Steve, thanks for joining us. And I think we can hear you and we can almost see you. I think you can see us. So if you can give us a few minutes, some insights. Good morning, Steve from Washington, D.C.
Good morning. I hope you can hear me. Maybe Brad, just confirm you can hear me.
Hey, Steve, can you turn on your mic? Just a minor technical difficulty here.
Yeah, my mic is on. Can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, we can only wait so long on this. I think he can hear us because he started talking, but we are obviously having some challenges. So just to talk a little bit more about strategic planning and the couple trips we've made to Washington, D.C., and I feel like we're kind of waiting to see what happens with this plan before we plan another trip. But I think having a presence, whether it's just one of us that goes or a group, knocking on those doors back there of our congressmen and senators is going to be important. And then obviously talking to ITC, the U.S. Trade Office has been very helpful. We continue to stay in touch with our contact at U.S. Trade. We've talked about the USAID office and making a contact there. That's going to be a little bit more challenging, but there's quite a bit of money that's going from U.S. tax dollars heading to Eastern Europe to build raspberry industry over there. So that's a little bit challenging for some of us, and I'm sure maybe all of us. So we need to make sure that they still know that there is an industry here and that we are live and well and ready to fight. And I think that's the key.
Brad?
Hey, Steve. Welcome.
Thank you. The video worked for a moment and then crashed on me, so apologies for that.
Okay, you're on. Go ahead.
Fantastic. And I'm not sure what you just covered, but maybe I'll just outline what our plan is. Excuse me. We, as many of you know, the Trump administration is extremely focused on helping U.S. manufacturing, excuse me, helping U.S. manufacturing, and as part of that wants to ensure that the agricultural sector is not left behind in a lot of the policies that they're undertaking. And as a result of that, the administration is extremely open and interested in hearing from the ag sector about how the administration can help them. And one of the things that we want to do is find the appropriate path forward for your industry to take advantage of that openness and to ensure that the administration has the data and the tools available to help the industry in a meaningful way. In particular, dealing with some of the unfair trade that we're seeing in the data coming from Mexico. So the plan that we have going forward is to collect and analyze, with the help of you all, the information on the imports, more information on the current dynamics in the market, where you're seeing imports coming in, where you're seeing that competition in the market, what the developments have been in relation to prices, and what kind of impact that's having on each of you. And by collecting all of that information and sort of getting a fuller picture of where the industry sits and where the sources and nature of the unfair trade is coming from, we'll be able to recommend and have discussions with the folks down the street here about how best to obtain relief that's going to be efficient, effective, and most importantly, something that we can get on the rails as soon as possible, so that hopefully it will have an impact by the next harvest season. And so I guess I just leave you with the hope that we can get cooperation from all of you in order to help us collect this data and make sure that whatever path we decide to go down is going to be meaningful for you and give you some relief that you'll need and can make the going forward much more economical and profitable for you. Brad, any questions?
I think that was a great summary, a good kickoff to our plans, and I really appreciate you being on. Are there any questions in the audience? We're good. Thank you, Steve, for joining us.
All right, thanks, Brad. Appreciate it.
So when we were back there, we did meet with them and talked about the scope of what they do besides, fruit and other food, but it's across the board. Dog food bags was one that they were working on that were being imported. I mean, they do everything. So we're pretty pleased that we can use them again to help us through this process. So we'll, at the board level, be updated all the time on how that goes. But we're taking the first step in that journey. So we will keep everybody up to date. Any other questions or for me? I think I'm handing this over.
I am not a techie person, as you guys know. Can you hear me? There we go. I'm Joan Yoder, and I am the treasurer. And as you have heard from everybody today, John mentioned it, Randy mentioned it, Allison and her team, Brad and Steve, we are trying desperately to move the industry forward however we can. There's challenges everywhere. Every one of you guys know when you go to pay a bill, where's the money? Same thing here. There's everything we need to do, and we have to figure out how to do it. We put a pencil to all this every year, and what do I hit? Oh, you're going to do it. See, I know nothing. So what Chris is going to put up is where we are from last year to this year as to what we've spent. And then we're going to look at the budget. So production and research, we came in a little bit over. Plant breeding, we'll talk about that in a minute. Crop protection, under. Marketing, under. Fair trade, way under. Communications, under. Operations, under. Administration, right on. So there's a little bit of money that was left, and we worked really hard to keep within the budget, and we did. We're going to move what we have left into that plant breeding, which is that endowment that we owe WSU. And it's really important that we try to keep up on that. And at the end of the year, when Henry gets the last bills paid at the end of the month, we're going to try to put that 150 into that so that we can keep on track with that. We have 7 years, as John mentioned, to do that, and we want to stay on track. But one of the things that we have to look at is how do we pay for everything that's coming up. With bringing the national and the state together, we have a lot of stuff that we still have to pay for from the state or from the national, and we have to figure out how to move forward. So before I go to the budget, is there any questions on where we are right now? Okay, this is the fun part. Can you move that ahead, or do I need to? Oh, wow. I did it wrong. This is why they don't give me a tech job. I'm sorry.
Just forward, back, or space bar, any one of those.
Okay, so the budget. So as you can see, from where we were this year to where we're going to try to be next year. Now, one of the things that we talked about over and over and over is how do we do this with the least amount of money? And how do we do it so that you guys feel comfortable? We looked at a zillion different ways. We scratched our heads. The only way we can make this work is with a 2-cent assessment. Now, before you scream, it's the same as what you paid last year. So it did not go up. Last year you paid 1 cent to nationals and 1 cent to state. This year, 2 cents to state. So nothing, it's not going up any. So what we're looking at is production research has gone down. If you look, most of the things have gone down. The thing that went up is fair trade, which Brad talked about. In order to make this work, to be able to be in a position, if Steve can come up with a way to make it work, it's going to cost us a lot of money. It's going to cost about $600,000 for 3 years. So with that being said, we want to make sure that we put that in the budget in case we need to use that money. So that is the biggest portion of it. Allison's portion of it is the marketing, $42,000. In order for her to be able to do what she needs to do, she needs some money. If we don't have an industry, we're not going to be here. So it's going to be a $1.3 million budget. But with that, we hope we can keep everything going. So any questions? Oh, good. Uh-oh. Be kind, Robbie.
No. Well, for the fair trade, 600,000. From who was speaking earlier on the audio, is there any way that we can keep a metric to show that there's been continuous improvement over the 5-6 years? Because if we're going to give half our budget, is there any, maybe they can give us a list of legislative accomplishments as they go along?
I'm sure that they will. They know that they have to answer to, how we're spending that. And I'm sure they did in the past.
And if that can be on the website as well.
Yeah, good suggestion. Henry will work on that.
Exactly. That it will be not so much just a general position. This is a very focused trade position, probably a particular suit that we don't know we're going to do. This, what we're doing right now is trying to see, do we have enough of a case to file this particular suit? And the suit would probably cost between 1.5 and 1.8 million bucks. Yep, we will keep all that information in front of you, and once the board has to make that call in early next year, after we get that data, and that's what we're looking at over 3 years, budget about 600,000. So that's a huge commitment. But as Brad mentioned, that may be the best thing we could possibly do for the short term to keep the prices up or move them up into where they can be sustainable.
And something that we can somewhere that we can monitor the progress on that front.
Well put.
Yeah, and I think that Steve will know more. We're hoping February as to what direction he's going to go if he does have enough information and he feels that he can move that suit forward.
Any other questions on that? It's a huge matter, and we'll be around, all of us, over the next few days. Those that Brad, Joan, self, and others on the board, talk to us about it. We want to hear your concerns. All right. Thanks, Joan. This, by the way, is a draft budget. We lay it out in front of you for your comment over the next couple weeks. The board adopts it in January and finalize it. We can change it if we need to. So it is depending upon your feedback to our board. Please give them some feedback. Right. You ready?
So Matt and I are up here to present an award, and part of receiving the award over the last couple of years for our dads, the job was that we have to hand the award over to the next person. So 2 years ago it was my father, Lyle, and last year it was Matt's dad, Kurt. Neither of those two people are still with us. So we have an opportunity to present an award today to someone who is still here and has done a great deal for our industry. Has been involved from a very, very young age. And, we can all, there's nothing that Matt and I can say to sum up a lifetime in our industry, because we all know what it takes day in, day out to make this happen. And one story that I have of Daryl, we haven't talked about this for a long time, but when it was probably I'm going to guess 78. I think it was before we bought our first machine harvester. We had not moved to Linden. We were still farming in the Puyallup Valley. And I think my dad was trying to figure out what to do with the land that he had bought. And so we planted some raspberries, and well, we can't have enough people to figure out how to pick them. And so we need a machine, and Daryl's name came up. And so Dad and I hopped in his little car and drove up from Ording to Linden. And then there was a field day out there on Haverstick Road. And I mean, I can't remember most of what I did yesterday, but I can remember that drive up here. I can remember where it was in the dip on the road on Haverstick there, where you go through that dip before you get to your place. And I remember you there working so hard to get, kind of tell us about what the machines do and what they, how good they are for the berries. And so those were BEI machines. You were a representative for them, and we bought some over time. And that's just a fond memory that I've had for a long time. And so that was long before we moved up here. And I just wanted to share that. So we, instead of the two of us standing up here and talking for a long time, we decided to put together a video that gives Mr. Ellers a chance. So I will say now, Daryl Ellers is the recipient of the 2019 Industry Service Awards. So Daryl, congratulations. We're going to show this video and then we're going to officially hand the award over here in a minute. So thank you and congratulations, Daryl. So no questions yet. I know you want to ask.
Everything to me is in life has got a philosophy to it. Over near the buildings is where the first 10 acres of raspberries was that I planted in 1951. Raspberries turned out to be a really good crop, but times are getting kind of tough for the raspberry people now with the high prices of everything to get in. To start out like we did, heck, you borrowed tractors and all the farms around, you know, if you needed something, you traded it. But then as years gone by and operations got a little bit bigger, after a while you had to quit lending your stuff out because they bring it back broken. So that's such is life. The first Mexican people that came was in the late 40s, and a wonderful family, and they stayed with us for about, I don't know, 10 years. And a lot of those people then has either started their own farm here or they got jobs here and they stayed here after they realized what beautiful country this is. And we even had a Mexican marriage right in their yard. So it was like the family to me. Oh, this here is this is before me and my wife got married. She wanted to go to Seattle, and I said, "No, why don't you go to work with us?" And so the first year she worked with us, and then by that time we decided we were going to get married. I and my brother dug all the posts, hand split posts for the raspberries, and we had the first 11 we had them in for 44 years. This is some of the crew that was working with me. He's still working with Enfield now. These are some of the things that I did on my picking machine to change the picking machine to make it work better. I made a plate of all the different berries, and we're all in this together for the health of it. Everything in farming is you do out of necessity or ease. Of course, now I do it for just being fun, being creative. So part of it's got to be your mentality that there's no such thing as can't be done, and so I don't let any blockades or detours in the road stop me from doing it. I still got blueberries and strawberries together. I called up Clark and I said I need about 100 plants, and he said, I thought you got out of farming. I said, no, hell, I'll still stay in it. One time my son said to me, he said, Dad, when are you going to retire? And I said, retire? I said, I plan on living to be 150. He said, you can't do that. And I said, well, scratch 10 years, that's okay. But I said, understand, I'm going to farm until I'm 100 years old, and then I'm going to sit back and tell you everything you're doing wrong.
So on behalf of an industry, we're honored to present this award to you, Daryl. If you would like to come up, we'd like to present this to you and your family.
There you go. There you go. We're all in this together. Thank you very much. I will. I know you will. They asked me to say a few words. What? I guess I needed a weight on that. There you go. Let's see if we got a hammer here somewhere. There we go. No, I got it. I got it. All right. Minute. Thanks, Wolf, for everything and your recognition. I'm going to ad-lib the words instead of reading them. I skip read a lot and lose a story after retiring. At my age, I'm still in the old school of higher learning. All of you are my friends and teachers gathered to learn or express their thoughts on how to better farming practice by old school brainstorming. Learn from each other as quick as we can before the old man upstairs calls you. I hope that all of you have the chance or get the chance for health, happiness, love, and a fruitful existence. Thanks so much for the honor. And to fill in a little bit of gap, I thought I'd do something a little different. As we raised Mexican people, or not raised Mexican people, had Mexican people, they taught me how to speak Spanish. So for any Spanish people in the crowd, this is for you. Solamente una vez, díame la vida. Solamente una vez y nada más. Solamente una vez en mi vuelto prior la esperanza que rumbre de mi soledad. You belong to my heart. Yeah, anyway. Oh, the holly green, the ivory green, the prettiest picture I've ever seen is Christmas in Killarney with all of the folks at home. The door is always open and the neighbors pay a call. And Father John, before he's gone, has blessed the house and all. So kick your heels and do the reel. Join in the fun of the jigs and reel. It's Christmas in Killarney with all of the folks at home. Just a minute, because I've already heard this before. I went into the barber the other day, and I said, I'm having trouble getting a clean shave, you know, wrinkles in my face. And he said, well, here, take this ball, put it in your mouth. And he said, you'll get a good clean shave. And after talking to him for a little bit, all of a sudden he said, whoops, I just swallowed the ball. And he said, that's all right. They usually return it in 2 days. God bless you all.
Daryl, I got a question. As we all know, you always have a question for every presentation, but you know, I'm quite a bit younger than you are. I just wondered if you had any advice for the young farmers like myself.
Well, you know, I just talked to the guy the other day, and usually probably 90% of the kids today are not wanting to carry on in the farming or whatever business that the parent or parents before them has came. And so my feeling is that train, do whatever you can, and grab onto any ideas you have and run with it. Farming has been utterly beautiful for me. I wouldn't do anything else. I either told my father at 15 years old, I said, I'm going to farm with you, or by myself, or be a veterinarian, because agriculture was in my blood and you're close to the earth. So anyway, the kids in FFA, it's really important. If there's any young kids here today, I won't forget this, but I went through 4-H, Green Hand, chapter farmer, but when I tried for state farmer, I was a little bit of a orangutan in them days, and and so I was getting like C pluses or Bs. I'd always get A in agriculture, but the rest of it I just didn't even take homework home. Anyway, you had to have B plus or better in to get the state farmer degree in FFA. And so in the junior year, I didn't get it. And in the senior year, my instructor even tried to talk the state people into saying, this guy's going to go on farming. And they said, no, you got to have the grade. So my suggestion to any young people or your children is say, by God, make sure your grades are good, because I realized when it came up to American Farmer a year later than that, excuse me, but I had the guy beat hands down for this $10,000 award that I just peed away. Anyway, such as that. Thank you, folks.
All right, I think that does conclude. You were shorter than we expected, Daryl. Thank you very much. But you still going to be around, and he's got a lot more stories for you if you want to come in and make sure you see Daryl. And family is here too. So thank you guys for the kids and Lou and Tim, and thanks for coming. So are we ready? Okay. 9:45 will be the beginning of the next session. So we will, we can finish off some breakfast if you'd like. I think there's still some left over there. Look at some of the other sites, some of the vendors. Thank you so much for coming.
Hi, folks. Just one more little bit of entertainment. You guys go ahead and enjoy yourself. Anyway, I'm on my 5th book of poetry, and so I just brought a note of one that just got through being accepted by Majestic Records out of Texas. It's called Popcorn and Tinsel. I'll get in the light here a little bit. I'll think like a child on Christmas. That isn't so hard to see, where the child within one's heart comes out on Christmas Eve. Some say there is no Santa. I beckon to disagree. Like God, you never see him. In your heart, he's clear as can be. Oh, bring on the popcorn and tinsel, mistletoe and trim up the tree, dreaming of love within one's heart to share this Christmas with me. Forget coming down the chimney, because the fire feels so nice. Just walk in the front door, sidewalks are covered with ice. All things unsolved within your heart can wait until rest makes a start. Odd friends and acquaintance together, celebrating never to be apart. Oh, bring on the popcorn and tinsel, mistletoe and trim up the tree, dreaming of love within one's heart. I thank the God for thee. Oh, bring on the popcorn and tinsel, mistletoe and trim up the tree, dreaming of love within one's heart and sharing this Christmas with me.
Well written. Thank you. Good job. Technology.